Hello everybody, we are back and we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Flyers and their current losing streak. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new to hockey, new to my channel, whatever the case may be. I want to do this as a full-time career and would love to have you here along the way. Now let's talk about Philly. And the Flyers are 0-7-3 in their last 10 games. This is their third 10-plus game losing streak in 2 years. This is a problem, folks. Last year, in a span of like 31 games, they went like 8-21-8 or something like that, in a very problematic run for them. You just think back to Philly in a few seasons ago. They were a club that had some direction. They weren't a perfect roster, but at least they're making the playoffs and felt like they could make some noise here or there, and they are not looking so good, especially as of late, last year and this year. I think in the past 10 games, they've had some bad losses to either teams that weren't expected to be very good at the start of the year or teams that, really have underperformed. And for starters, you think of Columbus, a team that is a bottom feeder. They have recently beat Philly during this 10-game losing streak. Montreal, another team that you knew had some exciting players and they were going to be fun, but they probably weren't going to be a playoff team. Ottawa, a team that currently sits in the bottom of the Atlantic Division, surprisingly actually, and then the Washington Capitals, again another club that has made the playoffs in recent years, but is a club that is not exactly in a spot to make the playoffs as of right now. Now I will say, in defense of the Flyers as of right now, I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is a list of all the guys that are injured for them, and this is multiple players that play a significant role for them that are veteran guys that they were hoping could help them out. Ellis was a big one here. He has not really panned out at all in Philly, unfortunately, due to injuries. Atkinson, Couturier, etc. There are many men that are down here for Torts and the guys, and this is unfortunate for them. Regardless though, this is where the franchise has to take a look in the mirror and say, what direction are we headed? Because as of right now, they're a club that has made some very bad moves. I feel like, they've kind of risked a little bit of their future in terms of assets, and they feel like they were a club that could compete and make the playoffs this year. They are not going to do so. I said that they probably would be a bad team. I think right now they are not a team I expected to be on a 10-game losing streak again, but again, it's hard to do so in the NHL. They're proving that they have the, unfortunate mishap to be able to do so again, but they really got to figure out what way we want to go. Do we want to move guys out, whether we go through a rebuild or a retool, or do we want to buckle in and really just dig our heels into the dirt and say, no, we are a team that is capable of making the playoffs and want to do so? I don't know. In my opinion, I think rebuild probably the best way to go, but that's not really popular for a fan base, especially in Philly. You want to be a team that wins. We have seen how fans react when the teams do poorly, and while the Flyers, of course, haven't been a powerhouse in recent years, they are still a club that is loved by the fan base and by the city, and they would not like to see this team be a bottom feeder, but they are basically a bottom feeder right now. They sit like 25th, 26th in league standings. But on top of that, if they decide what direction they're going to go, they have to decide what exactly is John Tortorella's future. Coach Torts is a guy that you either love him or you hate him. I think he's a lot more lovable when you are winning games and you're going to the playoffs, possibly winning some rounds. But if you're losing, he is a guy that really wears down on you because he has his way of doing things. There's no other opinion really that's invited. And on top of that, he is a guy that can really make players' lives miserable and is just a guy that is kind of cannon fodder when it comes to the media because of how he interacts with them. I don't know. I think at this point they have to decide if there's a rebuild, then Torts is probably gone. But if they really feel like, that we can make the playoffs, then maybe Torts stays, or maybe they say, yes, we want to make the playoffs, but John Tortorella is not our head coach. He's a guy that is had a lot of experience, but probably needs to go on to either another club or go on to an analyst role or maybe even retirement in general. That is going to be interesting. But of course, also you have the draft, which is really important as to why they choose their direction here. Bedard, Mishkov, and Tilly, they're all players that are viewed as very good players. Mishkov is compared to the next Alex Ovechkin if he's able to get out of Russia, fingers crossed. And then, of course, Bedard is viewed as this generational talent that is going to be a very exciting player. This is one of those drafts that if you are bad, this is a good thing, and you can get some really top-end talent right off the bat. And these guys are viewed as players that should be able to come in and make an impact relatively quickly. So that's why I think for Philadelphia, they have to decide, is it really worth it to try to keep this group together, or should we focus on the future, especially when we've got a draft coming up that has some really exciting names. And for Philly, if they looked into the #1 overall pick, while the rebuild would not be exciting at all, if Bedard's there, maybe it is. If he is the guy that they end up getting, that would be something that you could say, well, losing's not fun, but guess what? We have this guy that is our franchise cornerstone for years to come. Or other guys, again, Fantilli or Michkov would be exciting names. But we'll have to see. What exactly are your thoughts on the Flyers in recent years? A club that has spent a lot of money. This is a club that is not afraid of, going up to the cap, but not getting the results like they were just a few seasons ago when they were on the brink of going to the third round, playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. What are your thoughts there? Anyway, also, please feel free to vent if you are a Flyers fan down below. Please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go Valk, you alright? Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.